Cybersource's product APIs include the following features and functionality and can be found in our Developer Center. Payments, token management, Flex microform, risk management, payer authentication, Visa payout, transaction, batches, details and search API, reporting API, customer invoicing API, and value-added services such as tax API. Let's say a merchant wants to sell a pair of skis to a particular customer. Since shipping skis can be complicated and expensive, they want to verify that the shipping address is correct to reduce the chance of fraud. To do this, the merchant can make an API call against the risk/v1/address verifications endpoint, supplying the shipment address of the customer in the ship to parameter. If the shipment address provided by the customer had a typo, the API call response would return address_match_not_found. Once the customer corrects the address, the merchant can execute an API call again and can expect a response to return matchscore_:0, indicating that the address was successfully found. After validating the shipment address, the merchant can make an authorization and capture using the payments API call. To do so, the API call should be executed against PTS/v2/payments, setting the capture parameter as true. If the customer has enough funds and the capture is performed successfully, the response will be returned as authorized. In our example, let's say that over time, a customer becomes a frequent buyer from a merchant sports shop. Sending the credit card data through the payment network each time the customer makes a purchase increases is not the most efficient thing. Because of this, the merchant decides to complete each sale for this favorite customer using tokenized information. To achieve this, a single API call can be leveraged. The merchant's developer will need to run the call against the payments API at PTS/v2/payments endpoint, but adding the string token_create_value into the action list parameter and including the capture parameter, so capture, authorization, and token creation can happen at the same time. If the three operations are successful, the API response will return authorized along with the ID of the recently created token. The merchant can save this token to represent the loyal customer. If our merchant were to become a victim of fraud, they may decide to perform fraud scoring before every authorization. If the score is higher than a certain threshold, the merchant can then decline the sale from their customer. To perform this, the risk/v1/decisions endpoint can be used in an API call. The merchant needs to add their customers' payment information in the payment information parameter and the customer information in the buyer information parameter. Once the call finishes running, it will return the risk score, factor codes, the model used for scoring, codes representing the customer's address, and phone number and other information. Let's say the merchant decides to strengthen security. They want to perform tokenized transaction but also encrypt payment data with a one-time use public key and key ID generated by the platform. This will encrypt the payment information in the customer's device or browser. To do this, the merchant will need to execute two API calls. The first one is run against the Flex API at flex/v1/keys endpoint, specifying in the parameters the encryption type and the target origin, which is an URL that points to the server where the encryption will be requested. This call will return the key ID field containing a JWT of the generated key that will be used as authentication method by the server that will request the encryption. The second call for the authorization is made against the payment endpoint, which is PTS/V2/payments, and this time the transient token JWT parameter, which is the tokenized payment data represented by the JWT that the server received when it requested its encryption. Wrapping up, we learned by examples that with Cybersource platform, merchant can perform tasks in different ways and with different product API complements. We explored how to perform an authorization plus capture or a sale with a previous shipping address check. Then, we learned how to do an authorization plus capture with tokenized data. We continued by using an example about how fraud scoring tests can be run against a customer profile. And finally, we learned how to make authorization using Flex microform feature. This illustrates the various functionality Cybersource offers to merchants and developers.